25th of January 2024, Conscription. It's amazing how things change, folks. It's amazing how things change. Just go back 4 years. The big crisis facing humanity was carbon dioxide, CO2. Oh, this is all we're getting. Oh, Greta Thunberg. How dare you? How dare you? And all this crack. And she's been walked around the parliaments of Europe and the EU Parliament and all. A 14-year-old, she was 14-year-old schoolgirl turning 15. I got banned off Twitter for saying she'd better go and organise herself for her future life. I'm banned since. I never got back. In any event, it then went to the COVID, and I got banned here several times, but I got back again. And all of the COVID, and I still can't understand how, if it was necessary to lock down Ireland in 2020, why it is still not necessary. Well, where did that virus go? Oh, I didn't get any vaccine. Where did it go? I'd like to know that. I said already it was a colleague of mine who took an action that brought an end to it in Ireland because they didn't have the documentation to support it, and he took a case to the EU Court of Justice. In any event, you know, the Ukraine war, I've said enough there, and he's a general, Patrick Saunders. I think he's a general. He's a big top British Army general, and he says that the army's going to have to get a boost. It has only 72,000 staff, soldiers, and it's going to have to be way increased. I mean, maybe even doubled. That's the British Army. Now, implicit in this, and mentioned in some cases, is the possibility of conscription coming in. And even in the Biden administration, it's being talked about. It's being touted. You know, the way they spin it out there to get you kind of adjusted to it. Isn't that something? From 1999 to 2003, 4 years, conscription of people is on the cards. Isn't that unbelievable? So they're going to compel people to go, but they'll say, of course, no, it's better to get, what do they call it, national service, they'll call it. We'll call you up, but you won't have to fight for the moment. This is what they're going to bring in. Now, in Ireland, we don't have conscription. We do have conscription, but we don't have, it's not current at the minute. We're neutral, so we shouldn't be going to fight. No doubt I'll have to do videos on that. Our government is going to try and sign up with Europe to bring our young people into the military, give them big rifles and a pack and no mobile phone, and let them out into the muck of Ukraine. That's what they'll dearly like. And the thing is, young people, if any of you listen to this, your parents will vote to send you into the military. Don't forget that. They're going to vote for at least a lot of them, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and Labour, and all those left-wing parties in Dublin are war mad. Joe Biden is war mad, and he's a left-winger as well. So anyway, you get the general point. But it's some change. Now, one of the things that it's going to present to them is, will they conscript women? I mean, they've been talking about gender equality. It used to be the men went off and fought, and the women stayed at home and dusted behind the cooker and made cook the meals, but that's now rejected. And I know a lot of good women, friends of my own, who don't want that life anymore. But then it begs the question, should they not have to go out and fight too? That's a big question. What about people who are conscientious objectors? And what about all this LGBTQ? They'll be saying, oh, I'm gay, I can't kill somebody. Are they not going to be made to go? So it's going to raise very interesting topics. But I'll leave it at that. But isn't it simply amazing that I'm here, and I'm only on this channel, how long, maybe 6 years or something. Conscription in the UK. In the last war, Northern Ireland, because of the situation there, they're not conscripted. De Valera told Churchill he couldn't conscript people in the north, and so the people who wanted to go to fight, the Unionists mainly, went. Sorry, I'm a working farmer, so I have to take calls. But in any event, it is amazing. It'll bring in some very interesting things. I mean, consider the modern Yankee, a young person, and all of that, and the Irish young people going about, and the British young people, and the Europeans, and all that. What a change! That you're talking about Dad's army, a reserve army. I might even be doing what do you call him? Was it Arthur Lowe, Captain Mannering? Imagine that's still on the go. Who'd ever think that would happen? And it has kicked off the whole climate baloney, a lot of this stuff, and it looks to me that the whole left wing woke agenda will collapse. But we cannot let the governments forget that that's what they wanted for us. Who will want to fight for Rishi Sunak? Why did they dump out Liz Truss? Who could trust Biden? And even Trump gets back in. How do you know he'll not be ousted again? The left-wing loonies are always there in the background. Don't forget, Hitler was a nationalist, socialist, Workers' Party of Germany. In his speeches, I was looking at one the other day just as a matter of interest for historical reasons, and he mentioned socialism 3 times in one big speech in 1940. Socialism. So this is the thing, they'll come back again. So I'm not so sure if we should bother our heads keeping Russia out. Let Russia do it. I don't tell Putin, don't be coming in here or something or whatever. I'm not so sure that this whole thing of repelling Russia and China, why should we bother? I lost a grand uncle, great granduncle in the First World War, and he might have married and he might have had children. He went to Scotland. We'd probably have children in Scotland. I'd have cousins, like third cousins of mine by my own name in Scotland. He was killed at the Somme. I just don't want to bother. God, I don't want any of my people stuck in a war. Let's go back to what De Valera did. He kept us out of it. We can't deny he did that. I think the Fine Gael crowd would have us in the war, but he kept us out of it, and he said we're neutral, and that's it. And I think we should stay neutral, and I would recommend a debate now be had in the United Kingdom. We can't trust our government. There's nothing about the British Labour Party or the British Conservative Party or the Sunak that will keep out the migrants. Why are they worried about Russia coming in? What's about the migrants coming in? Why are the Irish government worried about the Russians when the migrants are coming in? What is a country without borders? If they don't want borders, then you leave your borders open and let everybody come in. And the other thing is, if the politicians want a war, go out and fight in it themselves. Go out and fight in it themselves. And people, if everyone refuses to turn up, where are they going to imprison them? Are they going to put electronic tags on their legs? I wouldn't touch any military with a barge pole. If Ireland is attacked, if Putin does decide I'm going to hit Ireland, then we'll rally. But we'll rally on our terms, and not on Eamon Ryan terms, or Roderick O'Gorman, or Leo Varadkar, or Micheál Martin, not on their terms. We'll form our own regiments in our own areas. We'll work under the government, surely. We'll work under the Department of Defence, and we'll have a say and be able to say what we need. We'll have to be financed by government and all of that, but we will protect our country. I would have no problem in signing up to protect my country. If there's an invasion due in Dundalk Bay and we have to repel it, I would volunteer. But it has to be on our terms. And funny enough, back in Scotland, particularly in Scotland during the Second World War and the First World War, an awful lot of the regiments were locally sourced. You got some big duke, and he set up the Duke of Cumberland's Highland Regiment, and it was endorsed by the King and the British Army, and it was formed part of the British Army. And so we could have that in the Republic of Ireland as well. But anyway, hopefully it won't come to that. I think it's an overreaction. Maybe Putin sees they're weak with all the climate change. I have always had the theory that this climate change, this LGBTQ, was indoctrinated into young students in America, Canada, Europe, Britain and Ireland by Russian and Chinese students who were here quite openly, whose job it was not to spy or report anything, it was to indoctrinate and spread this gospel, which had the effect of destroying the military. The last steel plant in Britain closed down last week with their persecution of fossil fuels. They have no steel. They tried to close the steel in America, damn near succeeded. European steel is nothing good as well. And steel is the kernel of defence. If you haven't steel, you can't do anything. So imagine this is the idiocy of them. And the Germans closed down their nuclear power plants, and the Greens are steady. The Greens get the vote from a slightly upper class fancy crowd, and their vote is 12%, and it's staying at 12% in Germany. The Green vote in Germany will be there forever. So anyone that has to beat them will have to overcome that. And they're now talking about beating or banning the Alternative for Deutschland, the IFD, banning this. And this is the same as the persecution of Trump, trying to stop him getting in. They don't want these conservative type governments. So if they don't want common sense, the sort of common sense I plead here, well then they'll have to go out and fight themselves. What are they going to do with us? Can they lock us all up? I don't think they're going to succeed, but we don't have to cooperate. Do you know something? In the UK, with the horrible mess we're facing in the United Kingdom, in Britain, the horrible society they have created, the lack of democracy, the fact that when you vote, obviously the people in Brexit voted for conservative values, they still have that idiot Sunak from the Punjab somewhere. And he is allowing the migrants in. There's no conservative policies, and it's not in his heart. So imagine that. So would you not nearly be better with Putin running the UK? You wouldn't be better with Hitler running it, because Hitler would kill vulnerable minorities like Jews and all that. That wasn't on. That was a way over the top. He was a villain going ahead with this kind of killing. But with the mess and the hopelessness of British society, why not experiment with having somebody else? And I'd go for the Russians and have Putin or his successors be at least advisors, have peace between the two countries and have good trade, and wipe out the British Parliament altogether, put in Putin and a few people that had just run the show. I mean, you're as better off. I'd be happier in a Britain run by Putin than a Britain run by Rishi Sunak. And that Prince Charles, he's as green as a leek as well. Don't think it'll not happen, of course. As regard to Ireland, well, they'll probably say I'm a security risk saying that. Well, they still have the Russian ambassador in Dublin. They did not expel him. They did not expel him. And don't forget, 2 years ago, the EU, there was hunger in Moscow. There was terrible hunger in Moscow. And the EU gave Ireland £20 million. That was about 22 million euros at the time. And they asked the Irish meat producers to make big cans of beef, to put the beef into cans. So when you can beef, it makes it more easy to eat. It's not as nice, but you can have canned beef, no problem. Proper boiled, cooked steak and all that of the various types. And the Russians were looking forward to this coming over. And what did the Irish meat factories do? They put tails, others of cows, offal, livers and all this stuff, and tongues, old bits that they didn't want, and they cooked it up and packed it into the cans. And the general view of people I knew and a lot of farmers was, we owe the Russians nothing. Why should we give them our good beef? That's the thing. So with that in mind, folks, comment underneath. The conscription, oh gee, I can't wait to see them. Big heavy pack and a big rifle, like a big bayonet on it, and they'll have to carry 50 kilos. And then if they conscript the women and the girls, they'll be ploughing. They'll have a lighter load. They'll have to get them a lighter thing, and they'll be ploughing through it. And the mobile phones won't work because there'll be no signal. There'll be no signal. So there'll be some crack. There'll be some crack. There'll be no Wi-Fi. That's it. Give me a thumbs up, because it helps when I get a thumbs up, or a thumbs down if you don't agree, and we'll see you back for something else soon. Thank you.